Okay, today I'm working on the Pioneer 600 that I just picked up. So it was supposed to be a running saw, but unfortunately it didn't have spark. So the guy said he had it run last year. I don't think he was lying, but it just didn't have spark when I tried pulling it over. So kind of a bummer. Thought this was going to be a runner. I fixed the carb. It had a broken return spring on the carb, so I fixed that. I pillaged a part off a junk carb I had. Put that on there, pulled it over, wouldn't start, wasn't even wanting to pop. I'm like, something's not right. I pulled the spark plug out and checked it and had no spark. So it's not going to fire like that, right? So I figured, all right, I'm going to have to dig into it. I'm going to have to take out the starter housing and then take off the flywheel and then get to the points, the coil, the condenser, all that crap. Okay, so on these saws, these are pretty big and heavy duty. And so the flywheel, you can't just put a screwdriver under there and kind of hit it and stuff. I mean, maybe you can, might get lucky, but I've worked on a few of these actually, and these flywheels are really on there, And like this saw here is probably I think it was made in 58 or 59. So all this stuff, I don't think this has probably ever been removed. It could be on there for almost 70 years. So it's on there pretty good. So what you got to do on this one, it's got 3 threaded holes here for a puller, which is cool. So I just got this is a basic steering wheel type puller. I got this from Harbor Freight, Pittsburgh. It's just a cheapy basic thing. I don't know how much I paid for it. It wasn't much, 30 bucks or something, I don't know. So it comes with this big, huge plate here, right? And then it comes with this big guy here, and it comes with a bunch of different bolts and junk. But I didn't actually use any of that. What I did is I got some bolts here, actually some long screws, and I got some washers and nuts and a couple little spacers in there. I kind of made my own little setup. I can't remember what the thread sizes are here for this. You just have to check it, I guess, if you do end up working on one of these. But there's common sizes. Just go to the hardware store and get something similar to this, a few inches long, get some washers and spacers to fit in here, thread it in there. It's not too hard to figure out. So then what you got to do is you thread this guy in there. Make sure everything's kind of as flat as you can get it, nice and level. Don't have one side all cockeyed, So get them all snugged up real good. And the idea is to thread these in here so they grab onto the flywheel. And then what you want to do is you shove this guy down in there and he pushes against the crankshaft and you're trying to pull it up, right? One important thing to remember is always put your nut back on the crankshaft end, okay? That applies for a dirt bike, a chainsaw, any kind of thing you're working on where you're beating on the end of the crank. Don't do anything where you can mushroom the end of the crank because then you're screwed. So if you put the nut on there and thread it down there real good, it's going to put pressure onto the crank, but it's not going to blow out the threads at the end. You know what I mean? It's going to the nut's going to keep everything contained. So make sure you always do that. And the other thing with these saws is that this nut on the flywheel is reverse thread. So it's left-hand thread. So it's righty-loosey, lefty-tighty. So when you go to take this off, don't go the other way because it'll break stuff. I haven't done that. I looked it up before I messed with anything. But I'm sure people have done that, and that would suck. The best way I've had with getting these nuts loose here is with the impact gun. I know you can put rope in the cylinder and then use a ratchet or a wrench or whatever, breaker bar. You can probably do that too, but impact is just so fast. You just put it on there. I think it's a 5/8 nut, but I couldn't fit it on there because it has a little round washer part at the end here. That's part of the nut. So I use a 16 millimeter socket and just use my impact. Got that out. So then once you get that loose, you take it off, get all your stuff out of the way. You got this little flywheel cover and all that stuff. So then you want to get your puller set up, put your nut back on there, thread it on most of the way as far as you can. You want to have the flywheel have some room to pop up here. And then you just tighten this thing down. So you get these all nice and even, snug them up under here. Make sure it's all flat, nice, everything's nice and tight. And then you do this, get this all snug. This one's a 9/16, depends on what yours is. You just kind of try to hold the setup and just turn it. And you want to get it, as tight as you can, get it tight. And then the key is to just whack it real good. So, I have this brass drift set I bought from Amazon. It comes with 3 different sizes. I use this big ass one here. And you just set on the end of this, okay? And then you hit it with Mr. Dead Blow hammer. This is a little cheapy too. You can see I kind of busted it up already. So right here, just bam, just whack it. And the idea is that the dead blow hammer and this brass drift will hit stuff and it'll transfer the energy down. and it'll shock the flywheel, and it'll put pressure on here, and poop, it'll just pop up. So now you can see, like mine's loose, see? So I just popped it loose. And you got to hit it pretty hard. At first you're kind of hitting it, you're like, well, I don't want to break anything or hurt anything. You kind of gotta whack it pretty good. You know, you got to give it a bunch of good whacks. And then another lifesaver, if you're not familiar with this stuff, is Croil. This is the best penetrating oil I've ever used so far. I've tried a lot of stuff. I'm not like a master mechanic, but I do a lot of little hobby stuff, you know, and I found this is the best. This stuff just flat out works. It's real expensive. Like this can is 25 bucks. You can get a huge can of PB Blaster for like 7 or 8, but this stuff, you use way less of it and it works. So I just doused everything around here because it gets hung up on the key there, the crankshaft key. So I just doused it, tightened it, whacked it, doused it again, hit it, and eventually it'll just pop loose. I mean, I guess it's, at some point maybe it won't. You might have to heat stuff up, but you don't want to heat too much up around here because you got some critical parts down under there. So usually just brute force will get it off, but don't do anything like trying to pry under here because you'll just jack stuff up, you know. So just get a good puller, get the right tool, get a puller on here, get it nice and snug, tighten this down real good. Brass drift, deadbolt hammer. You might not even need a brass drift. You can maybe just hit it with this, but I was using the brass drift because that's what I used last time and it worked well. So anyway, that's kind of how you get a flywheel loose on a 600 series Pioneer. You know, it's not a huge deal, but you got to have the right tools. You're not going to do it without a puller. I mean, maybe you can, but you why make it hard on yourself? So get a good puller, get yourself an impact gun, some Croil to loosen stuff up, get this nice and tight, whack it, and then boom, it'll pop off. And then you can get to underneath your flywheel will be your points and your coil, condenser, all that good stuff. So I got to check that stuff out next. So that's it for now though. Pioneer 600 flywheel removal. There you go. See ya.